That's something to be proud of, because the night of the raid, they closed Stonewall Bar down, and then it only opened up again as Stonewall as a bar about 20 years ago, and we're at least twice that old.
Yay!
But the current owners of Stonewall are sending us one of the original bricks from the building, because they had to do the repointing to keep the walls from falling down. It happens even in New York. So we will be getting one of those bricks, and that will be the launch pad for one of our new archives, which is for bars and hospitality industry, and that will be a centerpiece that will first go on exhibit here and then be part of a national tour. So, I don't know if any of you, since the crowd was in front of the screen, have seen this, but the pictures here tell a story. And I'm going to try to get through this really fast. But over the course of history, the often invisible LGBTQ community told the stories of the human experience. We did this through storytelling, theater, music, fine arts, design, and the strong desire to celebrate life. From ancient Egypt, Rome, Greece, and the Renaissance to today, our clothing, buildings, art, and music has been deeply infused in the vision, creativity, and heart of the LGBTQ people, whose unstoppable commitment to living life has never been extinguished. Our community has been celebrated in the greatest of the world's museums and galleries. Our plays and music and dance live in the ears and eyes, on stages, screens, and even phones of people worldwide. These artists and creators often illuminate our memories and provide the score to our very lives. In the great cathedrals of culture, we are well represented, but our family ties are often absent. A young person may never know that the most famous painting in the world, the Mona Lisa, was painted by a gay man. The world's most famous statue, the David, carved by a gay man. And the quote, "A rose is a rose is a rose," was written by a lesbian. The priceless collection of our community's work could never be gathered in one place. But in one place, we can honor all of those, past and present, in a single facility that declares they are our family of choice. It is time for the LGBTQ community to have its temple, its cathedral, its home where our extraordinary contributions to the arts, to history, education, politics, and life are celebrated with the knowledge that these contributions were made by lesbians, gays, bi, trans, non-binary, two-spirited, and others who call the rainbow their flag. If ever there was a time to stand up, be proud, show who we are, it is now. With Stonewall's tens of thousands of books, millions of paper documents, ephemera, and other treasures, we believe we are well suited and prepared, with your support, to carry this mantle. Never again should a member of our community not be acknowledged for all that they are, and never again should a young person doubt that it is okay to be who they are. Today, even with governmental and societal pushback, we have the tools to harness the energy of our talent, history, culture, and realize our commitment to equality, equity, and inclusion for our entire community. So everybody here is LGBTQ. The architects, the authors, the artists, everyone. They are represented all over the world in different collections. And yet, millions, maybe billions of people have no idea that they're part of this community. That's scandalous. And that's the reason that we find ourselves targeted, because people don't know who we are. And so tonight, there are these documents available for everyone. It talks about that we need a place that looks like It's coming. This. In South Florida, that represents the best of all of our people. We don't have to have Andy Warhol's can, but we certainly should be celebrating Andy Warhol. We don't have to have the street address of Gertrude Stein in Paris in order to celebrate Gertrude Stein. But we need to know who they are, and we need to be able to harness that energy, because that is what will save us. The more that we know about who we are, the less likely it can be that we can ever be erased. Because what they can't take from us is in here and in here. They can remove colored street signs and colored crosswalks, but they can never, ever erase who we are. The only way that happens is if we don't know our own history, if we don't know who we are. So, this is not a public announcement that we're starting a capital campaign. This is the public announcement that we're starting a discussion. Now, I will tell you that we have near or a little over $1 million already in the bank, celebrating the fact that we're doing a campaign. And our friend here, Wayne Shreby, I told Wayne that we had the first $125,000. He said, "What would you like to have?" I said, $500,000, at least to tell people that we're starting this. And Wayne said, "Done."
Wow.
I should have said 2 and settled for 1.
This meeting real quick.
That will not, then those people don't know what real estate is in South Florida. But Wayne made it possible for this to happen. And there are other people in this room who are doing their fair share as well. We need a conversation with our community, and being that we are national, we will be starting conversations with communities all over the United States. I have several meetings set up in Los Angeles later this week. So we are moving. We are moving out of here, and we are moving to a place that celebrates our community in the same way that the buildings at the beginning of this slideshow represent others. So you've got the Jewish Museum, you've got the African American Museum, you've got the Museum of Indians, Native Americans, you've got the New York Public Library, you've got all of these places that celebrate. And we do not have a place that looks like a cathedral, that celebrates like a temple, the great achievements of our community. So let's start that conversation. And the person I'm working most closely with on this is Larry Karnoff. You want to say something?
Yes. Thank you very much, Robert.
Why don't you come up there?
Oh,
So they can
sure.
hear you.
Oh, believe me, people can hear me.
I see what you're wearing.
The only thing that was pressed. Thank you all for coming here tonight. Like David, I had the great honor to be involved with Stonewall, and a few years ago I was invited to be on the board, and I was interim executive director for a short while. I am passionate about Stonewall. I think the mission is a good mission. It's a solid mission. I think Robert expresses it well, and I think Robert expresses our response to the world as it is today very well, and with the force that we require and that we deserve. Given what I've heard from him in our conversations, well, let me give you a little background about who I am. In part of my career, I practiced law, but I was also a fundraiser. And as a fundraiser, I was involved with 3 or 4 capital campaigns. My responsibility was to raise $50 million for the University of Pittsburgh for a $500 million campaign. We raised $64 million. My responsibility with a few other campaigns, we exceeded our goals. I understand how campaigns run, and I understand when they fail. the number one thing that we need to ensure that a campaign is successful is we need a person at the front who is a flag waver, who can say, follow me, this is where we're going. And when I sit down and talk to Robert, I hear that.
Bravo.
To that end, and given my nature, I have made a donation of $100,000. Not a big gift. But while some people will rise to the occasion and appreciate having their names listed on a building, I, on the other hand, support the infrastructure. So my gift will be to assist with the appropriate staffing, making sure that we have people involved who know how to run a campaign, and the infrastructure to ensure that the campaign's operational. So I invite you all to listen to what he has to say. Listen to David Jobin. David's a terrific advocate for Stonewall and for our community. If he says something is worthwhile, I listen to that. So thank you all, and I'm sure we'll be back again sometime, and we will have a celebration of success.
So, none of you, well, almost none of you, knew that what we were definitely going to do here tonight. Is there anyone else who has thought about contributing to a capital campaign? Just curious.
Well, is this a fundraising event or a conversation?
It is a conversation that can be sparked by somebody willing to make a donation.
Robert, how much are you, do you want to raise?
Well, in South Florida, we're looking to raise 10 million. Outside of Florida, considerably more.
So, Robert, the thing is, what are we raising the money for? We don't have a site, we don't have a building, we don't have a budget. And I think that people who like to give like to know like what are we raising money for? Right now, it's just a concept.
We are in conversations with real estate people.
Right.
I've talked to you. We have met with an architectural firm. We will meet with others. So it's not just an ephemeral idea. It is starting to look at what exists, what doesn't exist, what properties are there, and what the absolute needs are, the minimum needs are, in order to make this actually answer the needs of the community.
Right, so when we had a brief conversation with our county commissioner, right? And those were his questions. What did you have? You identified a building, have you identified a location, and do you have a budget in place?
Well, we have, yes.
But I'm saying, to get the county engaged, those are the kinds of questions that need to be answered. And I think they're very fair questions, and I think other people are gonna wanna ask the same thing. This building doesn't exist right now, so, but this is just a concept, I understand that. And so, we as a community, I think everyone likes to know, like, what are they buying into?
Dean, the reality is that you can't tell people what they're buying into until you have enough money to put a down payment down on a building.
True.
So you are the kind of person that understands that, and so you know that we need that startup capital so that we can go and say, this building on Federal, this building on 4th, this building on Andrews is available, we want to put the money down. We can't do that until people say, okay, I'm going to blank and get off the pot, because otherwise nothing can ever happen.
Got it.
So yes, people can ask those questions, but that is a delaying tactic, unfortunately, for people who are not taking action. Now, either the community needs to take action so that we can do what's right for our community.
One question that I'm sure other people will ask, and that is Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors. How do you project to the rest of the world that this is the place for a national museum of this expense?
That is already being done. And I will say, I have been traveling a lot. I just got back from North Carolina, I'm going to California, I've been to many places across the country now. In each of those places, they now look at us as a national institution. We are getting materials donated to the archives and the library from people from all over the country because there are very few national repositories. The other thing that puts us up a new level is that many people used to give to their universities. They can't do that anymore because no university, private or public, can be trusted when you can't trust the government. And all of a sudden people are saying, some of my stuff is at Cornell, some of my stuff is at the University of Texas. We can't access it anymore. That is giving people pause and getting people to say, you are owned by the community for the community, and we want it to come here. The problem is we don't have a place to put it. So if you look at my office, you will see archival material on my desk, buried under the books that are coming in for the library. And these are from people from all over. We're getting books sent to us by publishers in New York, because this is where people want their stuff.
But more to your question, you know, why us? I think we don't see it as much because we live here, but the rest of the world sees this area as like a gay capital. I mean, I think that San Francisco has been that for a while, but it no longer is. New York kinda is, but I think that's, our area has been identified as a, not a gay mecca, but certainly an important place where people visit and live in the LGBT community. So that's the reason, that's why people will want to give here, and that's why it needs to be located here.
And also, when you do something here, especially now, it says that we're not going anywhere and we will always fight back. And to do that in New York, not unexpected. To do that in San Francisco or anywhere in California, okay. But when you do it here, even though it's a blue dot, you are surrounded by a red mass with a governor who spearheaded this movement against us. And that says a lot to us, and it says a lot to the world. There's not a day goes by that I don't hear from LGBTQ people in Africa asking for help, because they know that we are standing up and they don't know how. So I think that this is the perfect place, and I think more and more people are recognizing us as the leaders in this movement, just like they do at Equality Florida and other organizations who stand up and keep standing up.
And because I trust AI for everything now, I was writing a grant today, and I asked, I needed to know the gay population of Broward County, and when I put in what is the percentage of gay households in Broward County, it said it's one of the highest in the country. It said it's higher than 8% of gay people in Broward County. So that also attests to. I mean, I think there's not any other county. I mean, if AI says it.
Is that Angels and Bishops?
No, but it is our painter, Adam Urban's here.
So does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any comments?
What?
So, like Larry, I was a fundraiser for a career, and I know this capital campaign stuff's always chicken and egg. Which comes first, the plan or the money, and you walk a fine line. And you may not have gotten this far down, but having been in the community now for 25 years, I guess, I know when they moved into this building, on the second day, they decided it was too small. I'm wondering if you're far enough along to have even identified the square footage you think you need to.
If you read this, you will see that we do understand what square footage we need. We have compared other museums and other libraries, and so we're pretty confident that the size that we're recommending, which is 40,000 square feet, will meet our needs. Could be a little bit bigger, but if we have a space that can grow, we will eventually fill it. But that is really what we need in order to meet the needs of the community. Somebody else?
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for bringing this forward because it's definitely needed. I'll share a quick story to explain why I'm making a donation. I hosted an exchange student from Germany many years ago. She was with me for a year, and we went to visit DC when they opened the Anne Frank Museum. I never saw a high school sophomore cry so hard. So if that's what we can do for the next generation of LGBT people or the broader community, I'll make a donation.
Here, here.
Thank you.
I was fortunate enough with a smaller subgroup this year. When you went through briefly, and that's a word I use intentionally, talk about what you envision the property to be, which you gave all of us. It's in this paper, but you have us here as an audience. So if you can briefly describe the various pieces, I think that would be helpful to all of us.
Well, some people have said to us, take down the library, move it away and just make it more museum. And I want people to realize that when people come in and they walk through those stacks, people do cry because they realize that every single one of those books is written by, for, or about our community. And that if these books were in a public school, they would be gone. It is our only permanent exhibit. And it is the most powerful tool we have, even if you don't read, because it tells the story of our community. Now imagine if we had enough space so that people could get a cup of coffee and sit on couches and use this as a community spot, a village green, where they could commune with their friends, meet people from other countries, just sit and relax in a space that they know was overwhelmingly welcoming. And also, just through osmosis, start to gain information about the excitement that this community engenders. The pictures on the wall here from the disco era. Now people think, ha ha ha, that's funny. But what's so amazing about that is that when disco ruled, straights and gays and blacks and whites and everybody in between danced. And they danced to the same music and they danced together. And it was only when AIDS reared its ugly head that people started to get afraid again. But an entire generation grew up on disco and grew up in a community where everybody was united. We believed that by having the right structure and the right plan, we can be a catalyst for that kind of change once again. A place that people can feel home, regardless of their orientation, because everybody fits under the rainbow umbrella. And then we have the archive. And the archive is something that is vitally important. Why? Because most of the stuff in there is one of a kind. And if anything should happen to that archive, it is irreplaceable. You will never be able to find another Nancy Pelosi gavel that banged on the House floor and said, no more, don't ask, don't tell. There's only one. And that's just one example of the many things that we have back there that belong to all of you because you're part of this community. But it costs a lot of money to maintain an archive. The separate air conditioning, the containers that the materials go in, everything is special in an archive. Those are some of the things, just some of the things. The kind of programming we can do that becomes accessible to more people. You know, just this past Tuesday, we did an interview with an author. The author wrote a book on conversion therapy. The reason we did that interview is because the Supreme Court recently heard a case on conversion therapy about it being a freedom of speech issue, not a health issue. The decision won't come out until months from now. But what we've learned from this period of time is that when you're not prepared, you can't fight. We knew about Project 2025 for over a year, and not one of our legislators was prepared to fight. Well, no matter what the Supreme Court decides on conversion therapy, we have to be ready. So we interviewed the author who wrote the book to remind people now is when we prepare, not after the decision is read. The worst that could happen is they throw it out. But if they don't, how many of us are ready to go defend those young people, those not so young people, who are putting themselves in harm's way because someone else told them they're not good enough? That's not good enough. And that's what this place is. Any other questions? Nobody? Well, there is more food and there is more drink. Maybe that will loosen up a couple of wallets here. So we hope that we will reach out to you and that you will offer your wisdom and suggestions on what you think is important. Not only how much you can give, but how much you envision with us and share with us an understanding of just how important this institution is. It is unlike any other institution, not only in South Florida, but even with museums opening, even with archives opening, we are the only one that has a nationally collecting archive, a museum. We have 10 exhibits now in different cities and states across this country, and a library. And our library started in 1973. We are one of the oldest LGBTQ plus organizations in the United States, meaning that we're one of the oldest in the world. And we're here in Fort Lauderdale and plan to stay here in Fort Lauderdale or in South Florida forever, because this is where the fight is. And if we're gonna make that blue dot, that LGBTQ dot bigger, we have to do it from strength, and we have to do it where the fight is, and the fight is here. So I hope that you'll join us, and thank you again for being here.
Amazing. I just want to say something briefly. Every time I hear you speak, I get more and more passionate about our cause, and you're so effective at it. So we're so lucky to have you in our community and as a leader in our community. Our fund is stepping in, so you know, we're holding the endowment for this. Wayne Shreve's gift is held with our fund. All of you, many of you have a relationship with our fund, know that your gift can be made to our fund, and we have a fund specifically for this cause. But I also think it's worth noting, Wayne Shreve gave the leadership gift when our fund moved to our first office. He gave the leadership when we moved to our second office. Wayne Shreve is a leader in this community that he's so silent. He got our Philanthropist of the Year award, which was the only time he ever let us talk about you. But I mean, our lives are made so much better because of the generosity of Wayne Shreve, and I just want to thank you.
You know, Robert, this is not going to make the day. Maybe somebody else will join me. I'm going to give you $5,000.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
For sure, we can't let Scott be out there alone. I'll throw in 5 now, and more to come, hopefully.
Thank you.
And more to come.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. All right, there's food. There's drink.